Welcome, everybody. The West Coast Preps podcast is back. It's sunny as ever in Northern California. And I think James Dalpino's shirt right there says it, right? It says golf. It's perfect weather out there. It's a great time to golf. It's 71 degrees, 72 degrees. Basketball season is nearing its conclusion, unfortunately, which stinks. I love that it's good weather, but it also kind of stinks to realize that basketball is really coming to a close, right? We're in the second round of NorCal's in the state playoffs now. We'll get into all that. This is Chris Jackson. We've got James here again. Lots to discuss, man. Lots to discuss. James was at a big open division game last night for a fourth matchup between two teams this season. You don't see that a whole
Yeah.
lot. I mean,
No,
just
you don't. No,
it's
you really don't. It's hard. And with those two caliber teams, seeing each other as many times as they have. I was talking to Alyssa Rudd after the game, San Jose State commit, senior for San Ramon Valley, and she's just like, we know each other so well that there are only so many adjustments that you can make, especially playing in two playoff games where last week, of course, Carondelet won the NCS Open Championship, and then, 5 days later, they're just right back at it. It's hard. It's really hard.
it reminds me of something that Desto Christian's coach, Chris Steven, told me last night. This time of year, especially teams you've seen before, they know all of your calls. They know
Yeah.
you're going to run. So a lot of times you're not even calling stuff. You're going based on concepts and movements and what they give you. And then you're running actions from there, right? And having trust in your players. And I know John Cristiano's obviously got a lot of trust when you got Bose, you've got Gunderson, you've got Alyssa Rudd, a freshman who we'll talk about there, and what Modesto Christian's got. But before we get to that, there was big news, kind of shocking news in some ways, the way it came out, I think, on
Yeah.
Sunday. Nate of the Bay Area News Group and Mercury News did a great interview, a great story on this of he spoke with Brian Seymour, the CIF associate executive director. He did an interview with him after the seating was announced, went on the record about that. And De La Salle was in the open division. I'm not sure how many of us had that on our bingo card waking up Sunday morning. And De La Salle was in the open division as a five seed. There that set up that trip to Modesto Christian. De La Salle did not win, lost by 12, but De La Salle was in the open division for the eighth time since this bracket was formed. This division was formed, I should say, in 2013. And we'll get right into it. De La Salle, from what the CIF said, asked to be in it. Here's Brian Seymour's exact quote. De La Salle contacted both the commissioner of the North Coast section and our office and expressed that they would like to play in the open division regardless of where their finish was in the NCS Open division. We don't often get that. We thought that was really kind of a cool thing. We knew that there was going to be group in that division, and so we went ahead and did that. The
Yep.
decision to put in teams in the open or not to put teams in the open, we have a whole metric of things to weed that out. So it just happened that De La Salle wanted to do that, so we said no problem. I mean, James, just immediately, what were your thoughts to that?
Immediately. Wow. It's a bizarre situation. I think that's the best way I can put it. Hats off to De La Salle for asking and reaching out. I don't think anyone's got a problem with that. The Open was made for those types of programs, the De La Salles, the Salesians, the ones that are the pinnacle of basketball in the region. But to openly say that it was one of the main reasons why they got in is bizarre. It's kind of crazy, and it's just I'm not sure how well it reflects how the bracket process should be made. Where, he met where Seymour mentions the metrics, right? But he leads off with them asking, and it just makes it seem like that was the main reason. And don't get me wrong, De La Salle's had a good year. They are a strong team, but the way that the story, the way that his quotes reflected, just it didn't sit well with a lot of people.
Was there anything on De La Salle's resume that made them an open division team? And then let's go to the other side of the coin too, and the other side of the table. Why should they have not been in the open division?
Well, yes, I mean, they won the EBAL regular season title, which is their big kind of league championship, which is a huge feat in itself because the EBAL is NorCal's top division from top to bottom with the quality of teams that you have to face every night. But towards the end of the season, they had losses against California and Livermore, which are two teams that California was knocked out in the first round of the D1 playoffs, ironically enough, against Livermore, and then Livermore lost in the next round. And you know, De La Salle's got some good wins. They beat Oakland, who's a really strong team. Of course, they beat Doherty. They beat all these teams in league play. But in my opinion, those two losses at the end of the year should have kind of nullified them from being in the Open.
And they had lost to Doherty Valley, right, in that league
Yes, in the
championship for the
EVAL
tournament too.
tournament. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things where De La Salle reached the section semifinals. Now they did give Salesian a heck of a fight. There was a thought
Oh
that
yeah,
this game,
I forgot to mention
yeah,
that game
there
on
was a thought that
last.
De La Salle was going to win.
Yes, that game on last Wednesday was a great matchup, and
Yeah.
they took Salesian to the final
But
couple
here's the thing,
seconds.
Doherty Valley went just as far in the NCS Open playoffs, and then Clayton Valley makes the championship, and then Clayton Valley is the 2 seed in D1. Clayton Valley is
Yeah.
now the best seed remaining because the 1 seed in D1, Buchanan, just lost to Jesuit. It's Jesuit's perfect recipe. Lose the section final, make a state run like they did last year, right? Maybe it's the same Jesuit story this year. They got to go to King's Academy tonight, so we'll see. But who should have been in the open division instead of De La Salle? Who should have taken one of those spots? Maybe who should have taken another spot? Because let's say maybe there's a couple of teams that could have been in instead of Sheldon and De La Salle too, because Sheldon did not win its section championship and unfortunately just did not have its best day against St. Ignatius last night.
Yeah. In my opinion, Clayton Valley should have really been considered. And I think their resume is as good as anyone's in the region to be a NorCal bidding team. You know, they have the wins. They beat Doherty, they beat Sacramento, they beat uh Clovis East, a couple really strong teams, but their losses are the ones that kind of stand out compared to De La Salle's. If you want to go with that, who should have gone in? You know, they lost to Salesian by 2, Buchanan by 4. Buchanan, of course, the number one seed in that Division 1 bracket. Modesto Christian by 1, and then St. Ignatius by 2. So they lost to 3 open teams by 3 or less points, and then lost to Buchanan by 4, who is the top seed in the NorCal D1 bracket. And it's just tough. It's really tough. But honestly, I don't think that they're mad. I think that they're kind of content with where they are because they're gonna get they beat Lincoln Stockton at home. They get a home game tonight against Doherty Valley, and they're gonna, playing that home games. It's huge at this stage where you don't have to travel to Sacramento. You don't have to travel to Fresno. You're in front of your home fans. It's a big advantage, and I don't think that they're maybe they are disappointed to be in the open, but I don't think that they're mad with the seeding that they ended up with.
And yes, they did lose to Buchanan, but also that should be noted out was in December, I think, in Modesto Christian's
Yeah,
Holiday
without Vince.
Classic without Vince Ellis. Yeah, and it was a 4 point game without him too.
Yeah,
So there's that, and they've gotten those big ones, right? You mentioned Kings Academy, Doherty Valley, who they play again tonight, Sakai, all of that too. Is there anyone else maybe that was worthy of it, or should it just maybe have just been kind of a swap like that? Or just
I think it could have. I think it was just a swap like that. I think, um, you know, uh, yeah, just Clayton Valley. I think is the one team from the Bay that really got, was that bubble team that could have gone either way. But the rest of the teams kind of fell along in the divisions that I thought they were. Maybe some teams a little underseeded, but that's kind of typical at this point.
yeah. I will say De La Salle was impressive last night, seeing them at
Yeah, they're
Modesto
a good
Christian.
team.
They got
They're a
within, I
good
think,
team.
4 there late in the third quarter, early fourth. David Pachulia, obviously his father, Zaza. Shout out
Yeah.
Zaza for all the memories as a Golden State Warrior, the title steal. He was enjoying his son. His son had 14 points in that third quarter. Ibrahim Monowar had a great second half, 10 of 19 in the second half. Hit big
Yeah.
shots, but Modesto Christian, just too many guys. Trevor Dixon, Sincere Hudson, Sevi Archuleta, Santo Patrick, the 6'9" freshman. I mean, holy crap. Talk about an athletic freak. They had 5 guys in double figures. Not even double figures, but all 5 of those guys had at least 12 points. Modesto Christian had too many guys. They haven't lost a home playoff game since 1998.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
That is unbelievable. That's an
before
unbelievable
any of
stretch.
these kids competing were even born, right? So It's one of those statistics. The Modesto Christian's been in the Open Division now for a record 11th time this year. I think it's been 13 years of this. There was also that year where there were no NorCals and state playoffs, right, because of COVID and that spring of 2021 when everything was changing up and all that. But 11 times since 2013 is that's the pinnacle, right? De La Salle was impressive. They competed, they hustled, they did what De La
Yeah,
Salle does in a lot of respects, but Modesto Christian, when you've got Trevor Dixon, Sincere Hudson, those names I mentioned in a program that's just always been here, that's the way it is. De La Salle, I really commend them for wanting to compete with the best. That is
a
absolutely
hundred percent, a hundred
anyone that
percent.
anyone that's ever been a competitor just understands like, hey, you want to play the best, you want to face the best, you want to beat the best, right? And that's awesome. And Marcus Schroeder said post game that Nate again in the Mercury News, which I could have caught Marcus after the game, but was getting Modesto Christian stuff. And then by that point, De La Salle was gone, and heck of a season still for them, right? They just
100%.
didn't have it finished the way they wanted. Here's what he said. We didn't lobby for anything. We sent our resume. I know people want to say that we did that or this. We would accept anywhere they would put us. So we were excited for the challenge. I think a lot of people counted us out for sure. I think this group was unproven and their guys really worked. I think it really showed by winning the E-ball championship and getting to this point where we're a top 5 or 6 team in Northern California once again after we lost a lot of our key seniors from last year. I think our guys
Yeah.
proved that they can play with anybody in the state.
Yeah, they lost a huge chunk of seniors last year with, of course, Alec Blair, the NorCal Player of the Year, or NorCal Athlete of the Year, excuse me, for the entire season. David Balagun, a couple big guys, and for them to get back into the Open and for them to come out on top in the EBAL regular season championship is just it was a big impressive feat. I know at the beginning of the season I didn't have them coming close. Well, I had them right in the mix, but I kind of had California, Amador, those teams that were getting a lot of buzz preseason ahead of them, and they just proved that De La Salle is just that consistent force year in and year out. And hats off to them for a great season.
Yeah, I think Marcus Schroeder is a really good coach too. He's got
Yes.
his
Great
background as being an
defensive.
assistant at St. Mary's College in Moraga, always a great Division I school out of what is it, the West Coast Conference. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
conferences are changing after this year. I just saw St. Mary's and Gonzaga. This is like their last meeting for a while, which doesn't feel right. We don't need to get into that, but he's a good coach. They've got a good program. They play good defense. So the fact Modesto Christian scored 71 on them, they were the second team all year to even score 70 plus on them,
Yep.
is impressive. Now, here's an idea I thought of yesterday, James. I'd love to know your thoughts or anyone else's.
All
So
right, let's do it.
teams that are invited to the Open Division and in the Open Division. So let's say Clayton Valley, yeah, in D1 probably a better chance at making a state run than the Open Division, right? And that's not
Mhm.
to say they can't compete with these top teams, but when you've got Archbishop Reardon, Salesian, Modesto Christian, St. Ignatius, that is as tough of a road as it gets. Because of that, if you're in the open division, I'm not saying you get a banner for each year being in the open division, but that is the prestigious, the pinnacle bracket, right? And you're going to be watching other teams not as good as you winning state, maybe in D1, D2, D3. Here was my thought yesterday. When you go to college gyms, college arenas, you see a bigger banner. It's got years of NCAA tournament appearances, Sweet 16s, whatever it is, Elite Eights. Teams that go to the Open Division, especially maybe these ones consistently, right? Like the Modesto Christians, Reardons, and Salesians, not going to win every year, but maybe there is something they can get where it has their list of open division trips on it each year. And maybe heck, even teams make their own thing too, thinking about it where they just have their state trips on them anyway, right? Because I think that when you're in that open division, especially, you're in a class of your own. Some of these teams have been nationally ranked the last few years. Reardon has, Salesian has, Modesto Christian was a few years ago, and unfortunately, they just were not able to win that state championship because of some of the teams they faced and team they faced in that state championship as well. But would just love to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When you go to a college gym, they do have those all those kind of banners up to celebrate how far they've come. And I don't think I think it would be kind of cool just to see like these top programs how they stack up. The one thing that I will say is that these top programs, the Salesians, the Reardons, the Modesto Christians, they expect to be here every
Yeah.
year. So I mean, this is just another step for them to get to where they want. And we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting thought. It definitely is an interesting thought, but Just knowing the history, knowing the competitiveness, not sure those top teams would, they would rather see a state banner
For sure.
hanging than a open check mark, if that makes sense.
For sure. Maybe it would mean a lot just to all these other schools too to have
Oh,
that as well, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think that'd be something really cool for the CIF to do. Because I know making it to this point, making it to March, you're usually doing something right, right? Like
Right.
Clayton Valley's doing something right,
And it's
Jesuit's
the
doing something
top.
right.
And I saw something on Max Preps, like this state open California championship
Yep.
is the hardest bracket in the
Yep.
nation, something
Yep.
like that. So right there, I mean that you're in a prestigious group right there off the bat.
I mean, you look at it in the girls' side too. Like the top three teams in America are in the girls' open division bracket, right? Archbishop Mitty's one of them, and that's the perfect segue into the open division playoffs. We were each at games last night. I mentioned that De La Salle Modesto Christian game, but James, San Ramon Valley, Rondelet,
Round
uh,
four.
yeah, round freaking four and round two in what, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah. Where I mean, as I said earlier, uh, you know, San Ramon Valley won this one tonight. They won three out of the four of the series that they played, but Corona got the one everyone's gonna remember with
Yep.
them hanging an open championship banner. I mean, last night they had the shirts coming out. They had the NCS Open Division shirts during pregame. They had them in the stands, so they're very proud of that win, and as they should be, 100%. That's a big mark for that program. But San Ramon Valley just they proved that they were, that there's a reason why they won three out of the four, two out of three leading into last night. And let me tell you, freshman Presley Uchikora had her coming out party. I know that John Cristiano in that program has been very high on her, and she's kind of really coming into her own during the last month or so. And last night she was really, really strong. 10 points in the second half, 16 points to lead the way, and just her ability to get to the rim, her ability to battle down low, grab offensive rebounds. She came up with like two steals, two blocks, including a block where I posted on Twitter, and I had to watch it a couple times because Carondelet had an open three. They had a great look at three, and Uchikora's length, she was just able to get out there and block it. And, to see a freshman make those high level plays on a stage like this, man, it was super, super impressive to watch.
Their reward for winning this is a trip to Midi, number three in
They're
America, the top
excited.
seed in this bracket.
Oh, they're excited. They're very excited for the opportunity. This was something that they had kind of circled, where a lot of people expected this to be a matchup at some point in the open division playoff. And it's just, we'll see what happens. I mean, I still think Midi's going to win. I think that experience kicks in. I think it's going to be tough. SRV does not really match up well with McKenna Wolichko and her skills down low, but I think that both teams are going to play their hardest, of course, and it is the two best teams in the Bay Area going at it. So it'll be a fun matchup.
What does San Ramon Valley have to do to compete with Midi and heck pull off that quote unquote upset?
They got to win the battle in the paint. I think it's pretty simple. I mean, they have the players to do it. As I said, Uchikora really showed her poise and ability to do that. Alyssa Rudd, the EBL Player of the Year. John Cristiano loves to say she's only 5'8", but she grabs every rebound and battles in the paint. And Midi's got Wilichko. They've got Malia Hunter. They've got these players in the paint that they're able to pack it and really use their size to their advantage. So for San Ramon Valley, I think the emphasis is we have to win inside to, have a fighting chance at it.
Yeah, there's that game. There's St. Mary's of Stockton goes to Clovis West on Saturday. All these games are at 7 p.m. right now. Now, because it's a Saturday, things can change. I've covered games on a Saturday this time of year where they've been moved to 6 p.m., 5 p.m. I know
Mm.
Colfax had a NorCal semifinal, 2 years ago, there was snow, so they made that a 2 p.m. game. We'll see how that goes. And then on the boys' side, there's Reardon Modesto Christian at the Crusader Forum, obviously, and
Yep.
also a great place to watch a game. And then
A
there's
lot of
also
stars on that court. There are a lot of really good players on that court.
same goes for Salesian St. Ignatius. St. Ignatius, Jack Loader wrote an excellent story last night about that SI win where they down three key players and they keep finding ways. And Coach Jason Greenfield told his team at practice the day before, don't let it be. Don't let this be our last practice together. And quite frankly, they crushed Sheldon, right? It felt over
Yeah.
pretty quick in that game. Thought,
SI's they just they can't catch a break. Like it's plain and simple. But they keep finding ways, as you said. It's really impressive. Raymond Whitley missed, I believe, 2 weeks of the season during WCal play. They still finished won all of their games, including a game against Midi. Um, Steele Laba has been hurt. Unfortunately, Alex Moore, their big time sophomore, he's out for the year. It's just really impressive how they've just been able to find ways to win, and it's a really credit to their depth. I mean, Noah Kirsch Lopez has stepped up, Anthony D'Aquesto in a bigger role, and it's been really impressive, and they've had a great season. They've really had a great season, and they they they've battled. They've really battled through a lot.
now it's our time. I think both of us, let's give some picks on these games too.
Oh
Just
man.
let's go through just some keys to these games, our thoughts on these games, and then we can go to predictions too. So let's do that 1 versus 4, Reardon versus Modesto Christian.
Um, it's hard to beat Reardon at Reardon. I think Reardon is very, very hungry after coming up short last year in that state title game where Arizona freshman Braden Burry's had the greatest high school performance I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
Plain and simple. It's unfortunate. I'm an Arizona State guy. It's unfortunate that I gotta watch that guy and then
Hey, you know
in
what
that
though?
Arizona
He is
jersey.
an
But
easy young man to root for. When you listen to him speak at
yes,
that
that is
presser,
true.
he did not
A
want an
hundred
ounce.
percent.
He did not want an ounce of credit at that podium last year, and that spoke a lot of volumes.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think that they have the talent to just kind of get this one done. So I'm gonna go with Reardon.
Yeah, the last time these two played, it was a 6 point game. Modesto Christian, I think, was up a couple points with just a couple of minutes left. Reardon finished that off. Modesto Christian, that was in January, I think January 19th, whenever it was at Crush in the Valley, and they were just acclimating. Sincere Hudson was a couple of weeks eligible after his transfer from Intercom. There was that Sac Joaquin section sit out period until I think January 3rd was when it was.
Hmm.
So Sogan Ackerman, he was, well, I mean, he's fully ingratiated, excellent passer, selfless, great defender. Their head coach says that this is a kid after one of his first games. I think he had a turnover. He looked at the coach on the bench and just said, "Help me, coach me, please help me. I want to be coached as hard as I can." And when you got Trevor Dixon, a guy like him on this team, he's now a top 150 in his class. The what he can do, the big shots, the defense,
Best shooter in NorCal, I think.
he is. I mean, I you may have seen some of the tweets last night, the videos of the spin move, the footwork, the fadeaway,
Yeah.
and that fadeaway three in the corner. I mean, my goodness, his everything that kid does is just tremendous. I'll pick Archbishop Reardon, but I'm going to say it's a 3 point game.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Modesto's a good team. They're a really good team. They're a really strong team, and it'll be a battle in the Crusader for him.
That
One of
place is
the
going to be packed.
Oh gosh, it is gonna be packed. Did you see some of the videos coming out of the St. Ignatius game that they had there?
Yeah,
Where the whole baseline where normally cameras are was just packed with student section?
yep. I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And I saw the videos of SI Salesian last night, or Sheldon last night, where Sheldon even brought its band from Elk Grove, Sacramento, and brought them out too. It looked like a great atmosphere again.
Yeah. I
Always great
mean,
atmospheres in the city.
yeah, and I gotta give a little shout out to the girls. Carondelet, they opened up that stage where you had
That's
fans behind
awesome.
them. Yeah, it was packed house. It was super fun. I mean, gotta love these crowds
Yep.
because it makes the environment a little bit more big game feely.
You know what? Maybe it's the next podcast or the week after, but I'm gonna have something of why we should have more double headers at schools in the regular season, so that these
Oh, I
girls
love it.
basketball teams also get that showcase and get a lot of these big crowds. Because you've covered it in Marin County, I've covered it in Marin County. Just seeing those types of crowds is awesome,
Yeah.
right? I think it's the kids deserve it. It's special. But the other one, Salesian St. Ignatius boys, thoughts on this game? How does it end up?
Good game. The number, all season long, Salesian's been my number one. St. Ignatius has been my number three. So maybe it's just two of the Bay's best going at it. I think that it is going to be a competitive game, but I think St. Ignatius injuries and just who they're missing out on the floor, catches up with them here a little bit. Whereas Salesian is a very strong defensive team. They've got the stars. They've pulled out these wins the last couple games against De La Salle and Clayton Valley in the NCS Open final. And I was talking to Elias Obenya after the game on Saturday, and he was just like, "We gotta play better. We gotta kind of learn from these games and figure out what we're gonna do moving forward because they got their sight, of course, on a state championship, and I think St. Ignatius has the height advantage a little bit with Lander still being the tallest guy on the court, no Coach Lopez, but I think the guard play for Salesian Asante Johnson is just it's going to be a difference maker, and I see the Pride winning this one.
Bill Mellis this time of year, even if they think they got to play better, Bill Mellis is gonna he's gonna find a way, man. He reminds me of Gary Patterson in some ways. Remember Gary Patterson on those TCU sidelines always had a little towel with him, right? That's Bill Mellis. He's a mad scientist with him. He's a great guy too, a great coach. One of those
Yes.
just
Yeah.
I mean you can put legendary coach next to his name. He's deserved that and then some. I like Salesian by 5 in this. SI has shown an ability to keep it close. I think those first two Reardon matchups, they were right there. And one of them, Andrew
Yeah.
Hillman, just had an Andrew Hillman shot, right, in his future college gym. Um, yeah, we got some good games. James, any other teams a note, games a note, players a note as we go into what quarterfinals tonight with divisions 1 through 5 and what then? I don't
Yeah.
know more
I
on Saturday.
mean, the game that I'm going to tonight, Clayton Valley, Doherty. It's just another weird one where they played each other last week in the NCS Open playoffs, and they turn around and play each other this week. And last week, Clayton Valley came away 55-50 in a really kind of battle, in a really physical game. And, it'll be interesting to see what adjustments Mike Hansen makes and how he's going to lead his crew tonight, knowing what they've found out last week. And prediction wise, I'll probably go with Clayton Valley. I think that they're coming off that Salesian game. They're coming off that Lincoln win, and they're hungry. They want to prove uh, that they are a contender in this D1 bracket, and at this point, maybe the favorite with Buchanan the top seed out. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I've learned in the past you can't doubt Mike Hansen, so yeah, I think that we're in for a good one.
Yeah, Clayton Valley, the way they defend, playing the guys like Rashad Cott and Alonzo Walker, them is that's going to be something to watch. I think that Kings Academy Jesuit boys game tonight, the 9
Yeah,
to 16 is excellent too.
yeah.
That is
I
anything
was
but
at
a
that.
9-16 matchup.
Yeah, I was at that Marin Catholic game, and Kings Academy was pulling away with it a little bit in the end of the fourth quarter, and I believe it was their athletic director starts kind of spreading the news that they're gonna get a home game. That Jesuit knocked off
So
Buchanan, and Kings Academy is gonna host a Division 1 NorCal playoff game, and you could just see the excitement. They're excited to be back on their home floor on this stage.
that's massive for them. There's two great sophomores in this game. Boss Moon from Kings Academy. Jesuits got Mason Phillips. He was a state championship hero as a freshman last year.
Yeah,
He just
he,
hit 7 threes with 21 points in the first round at Buchanan. So we've mentioned some young talent, and those two are right there near the top of that young talent in Northern
Yeah,
California. Like I'd say
I was gonna say
California.
I remember that Phillips state championship game against who I forget
Chatsworth.
it
Chatsworth.
was Chatsworth. It was
Yep.
Arenas, right?
Yep. Elijah Arenas.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's great games everywhere tonight. Excited to see what plays out. And we'll go one more quick topic before we wrap this thing up. Competitive equity. It's something that's talked about every single year. Format, how can it be better? Does it work? I mean, James, does this current format work? Just first off.
Yes and no. I think it's still a working process a little bit where it it's done its job a little bit with, the games are definitely a little more competitive. and you aren't seeing as many blowouts as you typically would in, a set bracket where division, Salesian, they didn't make the open, they would be in Division three. Some of those schools would be playing smaller schools. But when you look at who won in sections, it's definitely evident that the smaller schools, the smaller private schools, are benefited a little bit by this format where university who just missed the open went to Division two and kind of just ran with it, And it's interesting with that ruling where if you're base Division four, right, you can only move up two. So you can only move to D2 unless you make the open where you're one of the top six and automatically get it. So I think that I don't know personally how to fix it because I understand why that's in place so that, some of the smaller schools that maybe couldn't were high up in the rankings wouldn't have a great shot against some of the schools in higher divisions, but it's just it's just a thought. It's just a thought that somehow this two up, two down needs to be looked at a little bit more.
And what's funny is you mentioned university and Jordan Georgeson, who covers Placer that area, goes to university in that first round, 106 to 89 ball game first off. Lucas Lau, unbelievable. Emmett Rose,
40.
yeah,
He's a
40.
great player.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Fantastic
and
player.
Emmett Rose had a great final game for Placer. It's funny because he went just based on the rankings, what they look at. And if you would have done rankings alone, those two teams would have still faced off, but in Division One. It's really funny how that kind of works out, right? Just
Yeah,
even changing it up, they still would have faced in D1. But I think one of the biggest things that makes it tougher is not all sections have the same playoff structure. Like the
a
Sac
hundred
14
percent.
section is still enrollment based with still sustained success stuff where you won championships or whatever a couple years in a row, you move up, right? Like Faith Christian's girls this year moved up to D5 in the section, even though they are literally a school of 52 kids in their high school, but they got two girls signed to college basketball. Right now they're in D4 for state, things like that. Modesto Christian, obviously, I think a high school of 102 kids, but they're D1 of the SAC game because of their sustained success and everything else. There's one-offs with schools like that, but they have that enrollment-based structure. Other sections do not. You look at the southern section, you look at NCS, CCS, it's not formatted quite like that, right? We'll see rankings formats, ranking processes, and it might not always be the top team in each of these divisions wins,
Yeah,
right? Sometimes I think it is just luck of the draw seeding wise. That's the way it comes into that state thing too. Now, once you play these games, it really doesn't matter at that point. There's no time for these coaches, especially to think about it. It's our job to think about it, but not theirs because they're game planning. These coaches are not getting any sleep this time of year. That as soon as one game's over, they got 48 hours until the next game. A lot of them are teaching.
yeah.
I don't know how the heck they're then watching film all night and then teaching kids the next day. I mean, unbelievable in of itself. But it's tough. There's not all sections with the same rules, and I'm wondering, James, anything you've heard from coaches on maybe some coaches' thoughts out in the Bay Area on ways this can be altered, improved, bettered.
Yeah, I've heard a couple thoughts. I know that something that the NCS has been talking about is trying to move to that CCS format where the first round is like a playing game, just to kind of make sure that the competitive balance and just make sure that some of these smaller schools are playing against some of these bigger bigger schools, quote unquote, in the first round. I think the biggest thing that needs to happen is get an oversight committee and just a group to kind of like the conversation we're having right now. Just do we really think this team is a Division two team, looking at their resume, instead of just looking at what the computer says? And I think that it would make a little bit more sense just to bring an oversight in, just talk it out, make sure that everything, all the X's and O's are in the right spot, make sure that no one's getting a bad hand or no one's getting a hand that is gonna they're gonna run away with. And it's just this is all new, right? This is all new in the last 2 years. So definitely isn't perfect right now, but there are small things that you can tinker with to improve it and build off it.
For sure. Yeah, that's all we've got for this one. Always great stuff from James. You can follow all his work. WestCoastPreps.com. Be sure to subscribe in there. You'll get a free 72 hours with a subscription as well. We've got a lot of games tonight. I'm about to post it, I think, on social media with the graphics. He's at Clayton Valley, Doherty Valley. I'm at Folsom Franklin for an all Sac Joaquin section matchup. We've got Silas in LA is at J. Sarah Catholic against Mater Dei. We've got
Woo!
Soraya of the Central section. She is at Sierra Pacific home against Folsom. Sean is at
Mm,
Wood Creek Van and Girls. A lot of great games. We'll figure out our Saturday games at like 10:30 tonight once all the results come in. Kind of how we do this time of year, but I'm sure we're gonna get some great matchups again Saturday and then next Tuesday. And then it's state at Golden One Center next Friday
mm.
and Saturday in the capital city.
Man,
It's your best bang for a buck, sports fans. Go to that arena not to watch the Kings. Go there seriously. Watch high school basketball. Do not waste an ounce on the Sacramento Kings. It's not worth it. You're going to see much better effort. Honestly, better basketball too, for being honest, right? You're going to see better effort, better basketball, better everything else, and you're paying a lot less to see it too.
great, great popcorn too.
And Golden One Center popcorn, I think, is top five in the NBA, is what Steph
Should-
Curry has done with his work.
Yeah,
I will say their popcorn is
you
elite.
should see. You should see me in the media section. Last year, I had my big bucket writing.
Oh.
Unfortunately, most of it ended up on the floor because I don't know how to eat.
You know, you're
But
not the only one up there that's like that. I mean, that the good thing is we could just keep refilling it, right? It's always good. But yeah,
yeah,
Golden One Center popcorn is it's top notch, and there's great restaurants in that Doco area, right, that where
yeah,
you
it's a
can
pretty cool place.
grab a bite, grab a drink before games, after games. Parking's not too bad either, so a
Yeah,
lot of
I
good
heard
things
it's
you
a
can do.
top five lot according to, another
Yeah, it
outlet.
is. Yeah, it is a top five parking lot. I'm really, shout out to Adrian and Jake for giving me a shout out for kind of nudging them in that direction of a topic. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Why? I mean, I don't know why I even thought that we should have that. And the fact they ran with it is just awesome stuff. But also, like, what are we doing? Right? But that's what you do when you work in sports, right? Your mind is in a million places all at
Hey,
once, especially when you drive.
you get to have some fun conversations on your way out.
Yes, you do, and I'm sure at Golden One we'll have plenty of fun conversations. I know we're gonna have a East Bay coach on at some point after the season as well on this podcast. But yeah, thanks to James always for coming on. He does tremendous work. Follow him, follow westcoastpreps.com, and follow this stretch run of basketball and baseball, softball is heating up too, which is crazy to say, but maybe it feels right now with the weather. So be sure to follow all that. Great teams. Baseball and softball in NorCal is as good as anywhere in America too. So we've got that starting up as well. But everybody stay safe, take care, and enjoy the rest of this basketball season.